My people, there is fire on the mountain, like the one that they say shall never end. Senate, they have done their worst today. So today, they suspend Senator Natasha for 6 months, and that both of her salary as well as her staff will be stopped during this suspension period. So after all this brouhaha, this is the only thing the Senate committee came up with, just to suspend this woman for absolutely doing nothing. Like, they did not even give her a chance to speak. They didn't even allow her to bring evidence. They didn't even go through the matter, whether it's true or not. All they did is to suspend her. Oh my God, what a country, my people. What a country. Even yesterday, people were saying that the worst they can do is to suspend Senator Natasha. And a lot are saying that it's not possible, even if shame no they catch them. But my people, it don't happen. Yes, today they suspended her, and it's going to take for 6 months. There will be no salary for her. All her staff will be taken away from her. All the privileges will be taken away from her, just because she complained or she cried out about the sexual harassment from the Senate President Akpabio. My people, look at where we are today. So at the end of the day, they did not even do any investigation. Like, they did not even do anything about the matter. All they came up with is just to suspend her. What a country. Like, where do we go from here? Honestly, the whole thing is really, really annoying. Let me allow you guys to just listen and also see everything that happened today in the Senate.
Having due deliberation of the matter as revealed by Senator Adeyemi Raphael Adaramodu, Senator Titus Tatenja Zam, Chamber staff, and the Sergeant at Arms, the committee recommends as follows. 1. That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpabio for 6 months for her total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended, for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Senate in general to public opprobrium. 2. That for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or to reduce the tenure of suspension, Senator Natasha Akpabio shall submit a written apology to the Senate before the reconsideration by the Senate. 3. That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpabio with effect from 6 March 2025 from all legislative activities forthwith. 4. That her office be locked up for the duration of her suspension and hand over all Senate properties in her possession to the clerk of the National Assembly. 5. That for the duration of her suspension, she cannot come or be seen within the vicinity of the National Assembly, including her staff. 6. That her salaries and allowances, including those of her legislative aides, be suspended and withdraw of all security details for the duration of her suspension. And 7. That for the period of her suspension, she be barred from representing herself to the public, locally and internationally, as the Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my most distinguished and respected colleagues, on behalf of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petitions, we appreciate the Senate President and our distinguished colleagues for the opportunity granted us to serve Nigerians through the Committee of Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petitions, respectfully submitted for consideration and approval. Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues.
Distinguished colleagues, my name is Asuko Ekpenyong, Senator representing Cross River South. I rise to adopt and to state that the report, as read by the chairman of the Senate Committees on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions, is a true and fair view and representation of what occurred here in these chambers on the 20th of February 2025. Distinguished colleagues, I was present, as were many of you, on the 20th of February when this issue arose. I watched from my vantage position here, the screaming, the shouting, the speaking, even without recognition, in front of an audience. Young school children sat up there from the gallery watching this display. Distinguished colleagues, this Senate chambers is a citadel of democracy. In these chambers hearing represents 109 men and women who are a representation of the different ethnic groups, the different tribes, religions, and faiths of this country. It is expected that there will be differences of opinions. But this Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended is a Bible or Quran, if you will, a guide, a North Star for this Senate, such that there will be structured debate, there will be dialogue, and we will come to consensus building. And the majority will have their opinion heard, such that we can move this nation forward. Without these rules, without these guides, like the Chief Whip said, we may remain as animals. Every association, every institution has its rules. We cannot pick which one we will defend, or which one we will choose to adopt, or which one we will choose to follow and ignore the others. What occurred here was a flagrant disregard or maybe a misunderstanding of these rules. Your Excellency, these rules assures that this Senate is stronger as a whole than the sum total of our parts. I stand by the prayers that this committee's report states, and I say that please, there's little or no need to continue to debate this. Let us get into the action of the day. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Interpret the rule. But the rule, which is an extension of the Nigerian Constitution, gives me the power under Section 20, subsection I and H, no, H and I, that the Senate President shall be responsible for the observance of the rules of debates. It shall give rulings on points of order or of constitution raised during debates. Above all, he is the only person to interpret the rules, these rules that have been made. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm in the best position to interpret the rules of the Senate because I have the constitutional power enshrined in these outstanding orders. I don't want you to be bothered by sponsored and generated blackmail, but let us see how we can come back together, make peace, and work together. It's for a while. We have, in this 10 Senate, barely less than 2 years to go. And we'll go our different ways. No matter what we came in here with, whether we are poor, whether we are rich, we should respect one another. So, Senator Karibi, on behalf of the 10th Senate, I must apologize to your wife and your mother particularly for the abuses one of us rained on her. Totally unmerited. I only made a joke when I said, was she in the Senate? I know she wasn't here when those abuses were being rained on her. We should respect one another. Senator Cyril, if you have, or maybe Senator, you have anything to add? After that, we just take a word of advice from elder statesman.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Mr. President, yesterday, I felt so bad that an allegation of such magnitude was raised against you in the presence of our international visitors. I felt very bad, and I put myself in your shoes that if I was the one, what would my family say? Only God knows what the international visitors will have as their opinion. Mr. President, I want to first of all support the position of Senator Dandusi that recommendation 2 should not be included in these prayers. You don't give an avenue to somebody who is recalcitrant. You can only give avenue for somebody who is willing. If somebody is willing, even today, what we saw this morning about another petition on the same issue should not have come up. Mr. President, it is always a pleasure when I come into this chamber and I see people like Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, a 1999 governor, Senator Goje, 1999 1999 minister and two-term governor. I always feel very happy shaking hands with the likes of Senator Lawal. And I put myself as being a very lucky person if I stand and I shake hands with even the distinguished Senate President. I know where I was in 2007 when you became a governor in this state, in this country. And I know it is not for mere guys, mere people that can become governor in your state. In terms of age, Mr. Senate President, I felt so bad that on that fateful day, Senator Natasha can speak to you the way and manner. Senator Natasha cannot be my sister, my junior sister, because I'm 15 years older than her, and my mother does not have anybody that is 45 in age. For her to point at you and speak the way she spoke to a number 3 man in this country is an affront. In my village, nobody will accept that. So for anybody to now put this option number 2, that if somebody, it is not supposed to be, it is supposed to come from her willingly, I want to apologize. That's a different thing entirely. Mr. Senate President, when we get to prayers, we are going to vote on all these prayers. For me, I want to also end this.
Die beste Art, mit dem Investieren zu beginnen, ist die XTB-App. Machen Sie
Of Isaiah 54, verse 17. The book of Isaiah 54, verse 17. And it says, and I say to you, Mr. Senate President, that no weapon fashioned against you shall prosper. Senator Akpabio, no weapon fashioned against you shall prosper. And every tongue, Senator Akpabio, that rise up against you in judgment shall be condemned. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and the vindication from me, says the Lord. Sorry, my Muslim brothers, that I don't have a Quran. Mr. Senate President, you are a nice man. You are a good man. Senator Ireti Kingibe said something that Senator Natasha benefited greatly from you. Very greatly. And Senator Fadansi just said something. You don't have friends. Because if Senator Natasha and the husband can do what they have done to you, then who are your true friends? When this issue happened, I asked Senator Natasha, is there a problem between the SP and your husband? She denied. And I was wondering, when the senator came here, we extended a lot of courtesies to her and the husband. Several occasions that we have attended, Mr. Senate President, we create seats for the husband in the midst of senators when he is not one. That shows we respect your friend. And most times when I see you, I always see you in the same car with the husband. If a friend can treat you this way, can an enemy treat you better or worse than that? Mr. Senate President, you are a kind man. You are a kind man. You are a kind man. And I pray that your kindness will speak for you always. Thank you, Mr. Senate President, and distinguished colleagues.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, in being asked to round up this discussion, let me say that I really don't have much to say because, as it is said in law, res ipsa loquitur. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, when a lawyer in court says res ipsa loquitur, all he's trying to say is that let us not spend too much or waste so much of the court's precious time. Let us rest this case because the facts speak for themselves. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I join in commending the work of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petition. It's a very detailed report. And I thank the committee for also bringing all the people who gave testimonies. On my part, let me just say this. First, to the Nigerian women, today being the International Day. Order, please. Today being International Women's Day, being commemorated all over the world. Also being commemorated in this Senate, because there's an ongoing program that will also join from here. This is not about gender. This is about one fact, that while we struggle as a Senate and as a people to continue to influence laws that will ensure to create more space for our women in public institutions, those of our women who have found themselves in public institutions out of this time should learn, understand, and obey the rules and regulations of those institutions so that they also will be good ambassadors of the Nigerian women. Let me also say that beyond gender, this is not also about North or South. It's not about where you come from. As a matter of fact, all our senators from Kogi are fully opposed to what has happened. And that's why they are all in support of what we are doing. It's also not about political party. Let me also say that what we are doing cuts across different political parties. It's about a sense of indignation to a deliberate refusal to respect the rules and regulations of the Senate as an institution. Mr. President, people will be governor for 8 years as chief executive. They will be honorable minister. They will still go back to the nooks and crannies of their constituencies, go around every village to go and contest election to come to this Senate. It is because there is something about this Senate as an institution. It is also because it is a Senate of rules and regulations. So, this is not about one political party trying to witch hunt another. As a matter of fact, let me emphasize for the record, and for those bloggers who like to sit in judgment over what we do here, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petition is a bona fide member of the Nigerian Labour Party. He's not APC. The minority leader, who spoke very well as a minority leader, trying to also make a case, did not say he was opposed to this, because he was one of those who played a major role in trying to curtail this whole situation from degenerating in the first instance. All he had to just say was to make a plea of mitigation from 6 months to 3 months. But he's not opposed to what we are doing. He's of the People's Democratic Party and a ranking senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But he's guided by conscience and a sense of indignation to, like I said, a deliberate, refusal to obey rules and regulations of an institution. May I also emphasize that this is also not about gender. I said it before. Most distinguished Senator Ireti Kingibe, God bless her, she's busy at the International Women's Day program with your permission, and we are going to join them there. She has different programs to attend today as the chairman of the Senate Committee on Women Affairs. Distinguished Senator Mrs. Ireti Kingibe signed this report as a member of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions. Her name is number 21, and her signature is there, fully in support of these regulations. Senator Ireti Kingibe is not a member of APC. Senator Ireti Kingibe is not a man. She's a woman. And by the grace of God and the privilege extended by this Senate, she's the chairman of the Senate Committee on Women Affairs. So this is not about where you come from. It's not about your political party. It's not about your gender. It is about this institution that is called the Senate and the need for each and every one of us who is privileged to be here, because it's only a privilege. Nothing suggests that we are the best in our various constituencies. It is a privilege, and we are here by public trust of our constituents who voted for us. So, it is a collective desire of this institution called the Senate that we will restore law and order. And I also want to remind all of us and the public that all those who are served in the Senate or in the House of Representatives and who felt that their achievement should be measured by the number or the volume of content they created on the social media, who felt their achievement should be measured by the number of followers they had on social media, all those who felt grandstanding should be the order of the day. I'm sure you can begin to name them in both houses. Where are they today? Who is talking about them today? What is their relevance in the polity of this nation? Let this lesson be learned by everybody. And let everyone understand that when we are here, this is a hallowed chamber. I listened to distinguished Senator Natasha on Arise News. And I'm saying to all my distinguished colleagues, I had no regrets about what she said about me. She said I called her at exactly 13 minutes past 12. I had no regrets. And every one of you know it is characteristic of my own personal leadership role to try to reconcile everybody. I went to the Senate president and I got there that night. And I said, sir, tomorrow in chamber, you will have to tender a public apology to distinguished Senator Natasha by saying she should not speak as if she was in a nightclub. And Mr. President, you explained again that what you meant was it's only in the nightclub that everybody speaks in loud voice, trying to raise their voice above the volume of the music. And I said, sir, I understand you. But tomorrow you need to explain that again to her and other Nigerian women and apologize to her. And you ask me a question, why is it that you are always coming to me to talk? You have not have you called Senator Natasha? Everybody is dragging me on the social media, her bloggers, including herself, saying I must go down. Have you called her? And I picked my call and called Senator Natasha, placing her on speakerphone. DSP was there and two other of our colleagues. And I called. I didn't think 12 midnight was any time that we would not still be awake as senators. We go to bed 2 a.m., 3 a.m. People who are dragging us on social media should know that. And when I called distinguished Senator Natasha, the first thing I said was, distinguished, I am sorry. I hope I did not wake you up. She said, no, sir. I'm still busy, I'm still at work. You know, I can't be sleeping by this time. And I said, how is my brother? Referring to her husband. She said, he's fine and he's right here. And I said, I only called you to ask you a question. She said, what? I said, my dear sister, what would you gain? Because I'm reading everything that people are saying on social media. But what will you gain if the Senate president goes down? What do you stand to benefit? That was all the discussion. And as she was talking, she said, well, I didn't start this fight. As she was talking, my phone started saying reconnecting, meaning that network was failing. I cut it off and called back. As soon as she came back, Mr. President, you took over the discussion, believing that you were talking to a friend's wife who just said the husband was by her. And you said, Princess of the Senate, why are your people dragging me? And we discussed all of this. And at the end of the discussion, you spoke with the husband and reminded the husband or told the husband about a pending nomination that he was supposed to make for Delta State. And I thought that was the height of it, Mr. President. We were nominating people who will serve in the Public Complaints Commission. The husband is not the governor of Delta. He's not a senator from Delta. And I felt it was the height of respect that you could have for anybody, that you will ask the husband to submit the name of the nominee for Delta State for a 5-year tenure in public service. That was how we rounded up that discussion. But I listened to the single Senator Natasha on Arise. We rounded up that discussion. You came here the following day, you apologized, that rested the matter. But she recalled the matter last week on Arise and simply said, I called her at 13 minutes past 12, middle of the night, to threaten her. And I said, if SP must go down, you too must go down. I never said so. And I call on the DG, DSS, and all those, security agencies who have unrestricted access to telecommunication networks to please recall the record of the discussion that I held with the single Senator Natasha on my phone. So, and for me, if somebody says something that I know to be a blatant lie, it will be difficult for me to believe any other thing you say. So that's why when she proceeded later to say I was sexually harassed, Senate President took me around his house where his wife lives, where his children live, and was holding my hand with my husband following. And he told me, do you like this sitting room? If you like it, I'll bring you by there so that we can enjoy ourselves. There was no way I would believe all of that because...
So what year?
Yes.
What year?
What year? Did the discussion...
No, what year did she allege?
Sorry?
What year?
He said 2023. 2023.
What year are we?
This is 2025. Well, sir, I clarified all I needed to clarify. I just wanted to say that, and Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I had said all of those things just for me to make this simple point. Just for me to make this simple point. This is the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are expected to be sober. We are expected to carry ourselves in a way that we will continue to reflect the importance and the sanctity of this chamber. And having said all of this, what I would just say to our colleagues is that I am totally in support of the recommendations by the committee, and I commend them for the good work they have done. And if in the wisdom of this committee, or of this Senate, it is upheld that most distinguished Senator Natasha Akpabio be so suspended, then my advice and appeal to her will be that she spends her period of suspension to read and learn our rules very well. So that when she comes back to the Senate, she would have come back as someone who understands this rule back to back. I thank you, Mr. President, and I thank all our colleagues for listening.
Ordinarily, I would not have continued, but the distinguished Senator Oshunole has been raising his hand. So let's.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I know people are tired. I do not intend to speak long. I will disappoint many of my colleagues. Short man, short statement. I just thought that having listened, first, line by line, paragraph by paragraph, of the report of the Ethics Committee chaired by Senator Neda, and of other contributions that have been made, including the very, very insightful summary by the Senate leader, I thought, because you have encouraged us, sir, regardless of what my dad said, that you have no friend, I think you have friends. It would be dangerous for you to lead yourself to the conclusion that you don't have friends. How can you preside over affairs of enemies or people you don't trust? That trust line between the leadership and the followership must be serviced. But it can be brought under test in moments like this. My advice is that the quality of a leader is tested when you are under severe provocation, how you manage it, which is why I appreciate the way you have even admitted to more complaints as if nothing had gone wrong. Sometimes in leadership we face those temptations. I thought I should share with my very good friend and sister and also our in-law my experience on the floor of this Senate. I went on China television, in my opinion, to defend the Senate. When we were being accused of spending money here and there, I said, no, I bought my own furniture, etc. A distinguished senator said I had breached his privileges. On that occasion, some people spoke in my favor. But there were few who insisted that what I said was in bad taste. I asked myself there and then, who will cast the first stone that he has never lied? Sorry, he has never erred, if I have actually erred. But on this occasion, my intention was to defend the institution. And yet, some members felt offended. I have been a governor for 8 years. I was re-elected. I didn't do a receipt. I chairman the governing party for 2 years. I was removed. I didn't go to court. So once I noticed that there were some senators who felt that my comment was embarrassing to them, for me, it is a mark of strength to admit that not being my intention, that I apologize to those who felt offended by my comment, even as my intention was very noble and clear as far as I was concerned. I think that to apologize is not to belittle yourself. And even the Holy Bible says, and this is where I want to appeal to those who have taken very strong stand, that any sin we commit, once we admit to the fact of our failing, of committing, of breaching any of the 10 commandments of God, that if we apologize to God and confess that we will not do so again, we can still see the kingdom of God. I think it is based on this logic that the committee window, even though not stated, was exploited for a former chief whip. So I don't want to go into the merits because there is nothing new to be said. I just want to appeal to distinguished Senator Mrs. Udwanga that everyone that has spoken cannot possibly be coward or foolish. Truth of the matter is, the rules are binding. They are enforceable. They are potent. I wasn't in the Senate that day. I was in Benin. When I saw the fireworks on television, I thought it was something else, but I don't know because initially I didn't know what the issues were. When I was told it's about change of seat, sir,
My seat has been changed. The only thing that the committee couldn't do is to change my person and my values. And thank God, as President Tinubu has said repeatedly, no matter how short a man is, he can see the sky. So my seat will change, but my views have not changed about anything that I want to speak on. I think that is the beauty of democracy. This is meant to appeal to Senator Natasha, who you had caused as revealed by the leader of the House, that you even address her as princess of the Senate. I think she can still remain the princess that she has been, provided she doesn't work herself into the conclusion that it's a mark of weakness to admit when maybe out of whatever feeling you have heard. And it bears repeating that the offense is not against the presiding officer. It's breach of the rules under which affairs of this Senate are conducted. I'm not going to go to whether somebody has been favored or not favored. In life, what you didn't think is a favor, somebody else will see it as a favor. So I want to appeal to you, Mr. President. It's not an easy thing to sit there and issues of change of seat. That's what I want to comment on. Issues of change of seat degenerated to the kind of fireworks that we saw on television. And of course, for those who talk about social media, why are they social media? That is the way it works. So I conclude, sir. I thank you for allowing me to speak, and I apologize to the Senate leader that I'm speaking after he had spoken. But this is the time you had acknowledged me to speak. I think that the committee, if you follow the sequence, issues of discrimination cannot be proven. It is actually the opposite. That under your leadership, distinguished Senator Mrs. Uduaghan can claim victimization based on facts. And I urge her to reflect deeply about tomorrow, because she can do nothing about yesterday, but she can mend by recognizing that to apologize for what you have found to be wrong is not a mark of weakness. And to our colleagues, I think rebuilding our collective image is necessary. I had occasion to say that once you have been stripped naked in the market, how much more can you cover, since everybody has seen it? But then I also then asked myself subsequently, because you were stripped naked in the market, should you continue to walk naked all over the country? The moment you realize you have been naked, we are told that when a madman realizes that she's naked, if you begin to wear clothes, then you know it's regaining sanity. It is not a mark of weakness. So I don't want to be on the side of peace. And I don't want all of us to be hawks. In this case, we need some doves to, temper the general feeling in the Senate. I don't think there's any division. No one has questioned the facts as they are, and facts are stubborn. You can wrestle with the fact, you can wrestle with the truth, but you can't defeat the truth. And on that note, I want to thank you, sir, for this opportunity. And I believe my sister has heard all those who have spoken. And I'm sure she knows she has a lot of friends among those who have spoken. And they cannot all be wrong. Thank you, Mr. President, for your patience, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Let us go into the prayers. Prayer 1.
Dear Senate President, may I be given a chance to speak?
Prayer 1. Yes. That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpabio for 6 months for a total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended, for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Nigerian Senate in general to a public opprobrium. Those in support of prayer one say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. I'd put the question. Those in support of prayer one say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. How do you amend a prayer that is unanimous? Prayer 2, that for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenor of the suspension, Senator Natasha Over shall submit a written apology to the Senate before any reconsideration by the Nigerian Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. I don't think, Senator Baribe, as a landlord of the Senate, I don't think they heard what I read. So let me just repeat for clarity that for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenor of the suspension, Senator Natasha Over shall submit a written apology to the Senate before the reconsideration by the Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. Okay, because I thought I heard 50-50. Let me make it 40-60. That for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenor of suspension, Senator Natasha Over shall submit a written apology to the Senate before any reconsideration of this case by the Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. Prayer 3.
Liberalism.
Prayer 3. That the Senate do suspend Senator Over with effect from 6th day of March 2025 from all legislative activities forward. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4. That her office be locked up for the duration of this suspension, and she should hand over all Senate properties in her possession to the clerk of the National Assembly. Those in support of prayer 4 say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5. That for the duration of her suspension, she cannot come or be seen within the vicinity of the National Assembly, including her staff. But this is normal. Those in support of prayer 5 say aye. Those against say nay. Again, the ayes have it. Prayer 6. That our salaries and allowances, including those of our legislative aides, be suspended and withdrawal of all security details for the duration of our suspension. Yes, Senator Ojo Sakalo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a little amendment. Her aides have families. Most of them have come from villages, from towns to live in Abuja. It will be wrong to punish aides that have not committed any offense. Their aides will receive their allowances. No, but Dandu said, you have to agree with this. The aides of Natasha is not Natasha. It will be wrong for this Senate to deprive those aides not collecting their allowances. They are workers. They don't have any other farm to go to, Mr. President. Because these aides are workers of Senator Natasha. So I'm moving for amendment of that section that the aides the aides will receive their allowances. Mr. President, I plead with you that these people might be having family in Abuja. They don't go to any farm. They don't have any other way of feeding. And I think that this Senate, my colleagues, you must allow the workers of Natasha to have their allowances. I so move, Mr. President.
Any seconder? Yes, any seconder? The two Senator Nedwoko, you have not spoken. Nedwoko has not spoken. Senator Nedwoko.
Thank you, Mr. President
yes,
and my
Senator
distinguished
Ali.
colleagues. My name is Senator Ned Nwoko. I represent the good people of Delta North, Delta State. Mr. President, I do stand to second the amendment as proposed by Senator Oji Ozokalo. It's only fair that we allow the workers, even if they don't come to within the premises of the National Assembly, to receive their allowances. I so support. Thank you.
Well, distinguished colleagues, the prayer 6 says that our salaries and allowances, including those of our legislative aides, be suspended. And the distinguished Senator Oju Sakalo has proposed that the salaries and allowances of the aides be spared, even if they don't. And like he said, he further amended it to say, even if they are not allowed to come within the vicinity of the National Assembly because they are here only at our instance, but that their salaries should be spared. Those who are in support of the amendment that the salaries of the aides be spared, say aye. And those who feel that their salaries should also be withheld by the clerk of National Assembly, say nay. The ayes have it. What, just that's a matter. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Ahmed Lawan, I represent here North. Mr. President, the latter part of number 6 talks of withdrawal of all security details for the duration of her suspension. Mr. President, I want to believe that we still feel we are one. And any injury to any of us should be injury to all. I believe withdrawal of security aids at this moment from a senator is not the best way to go. And we should not really create a precedence where the moment something happens with a member of the National Assembly, the security agencies will say withdraw the security aids, because this could be a problem to us later. So I just want us to reflect on this. Thank you.
Well, if your security is given to you as a leverage to your being a senator, then there will be no need for them to hang around with you when you are no longer a senator. In other words, if you are no longer a president of the Senate, you cannot continue to sit in the car of the president of the Senate. I was with you in the villa the day you declared support for me, and I saw you off as a sign of respect as the outgoing Senate president. When we got to the vehicle, you just pointed out and said, "This will be withdrawn from me tomorrow. I will come to your house after you win." so if you are telling me that, assuming I had failed that day, would that vehicle come to my house?
Well, Mr. Senate President, I don't want it to be like I'm trying to make a case, but I believe that this is a suspended senator, not someone who ceases to be a senator. is suspension.
But without arguing with
That's
you,
my case. Yes.
without arguing with you, let me remind you, you are a landlord in the Senate or in the National Assembly. Do you remember a senator that was called Oton Zeribe? A distinguished senator who was one of the richest people in southeastern Nigeria. And when he entered into the Senate, he carried along on his shoulders his wealth. May his soul rest in peace. When he was suspended, the Senate took steps to withdraw all his security. And when he refused to apologize to the Senate, he stayed out of the Senate for over 2.5 years until the end of that tenure. We are starting a journey now. And the journey depends on your attitude. Prayer 7, that for the period of her suspension, she be barred from representing herself to the public locally and internationally as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Those who support prayer 7 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me thank my colleagues.
This injustice will not be sustained.
Injustice will not be sustained.
The pursuit for justice.
The pursuit for justice.
Welcome to Chammercy News TV.